I'm Jonathan Hayes of the St. Louis Battlehawks, and this is the XFL show.
More burger for the love of football. For the love of football. For the love of football. For the love of
football. Welcome, football fans. This is the week of February 6, 2022, on the road to kickoff 2023. This is For the Love of Football, and this is the XFL show. I'm Alan.
And I'm Bryant.
The Super Bowl is next Sunday, and rumors are we get some XFL announcements too. What will they be? This is episode 208, and we're going Commander. Bryant, Commander, not Commando. The Washington Commanders. Sounds familiar to another spring football league team name. We'll talk some of that. Talk, I don't know, fixing it so your coach will lose and tanking. We're going to have a lot of fun on this episode. A week out from the most stressful football game you'll watch all year with the Rams in the Super Bowl. How you doing?
No party, that's for sure. I don't know what everyone keeps asking me what I'm doing. Why? I don't know. People ask me what I'm doing for the Super Bowl. And I tell them nothing. I'm watching the game. That's what you do when you're a fan of the team. People in LA don't realize that sometimes.
They don't realize that. But you know what they do know? They realize that we are 53 weeks from kickoff in 2023. Just barely over a year from kickoff now. Here we are.
Yeah. 2 years removed from kickoff in 2020. We are almost 1 year away from kickoff in 2023. We're just stuck in the middle with you, Alan.
Yes, we're here, and you know what? I want to acknowledge that 2 years ago too, we had the first baby of the XFL. So I hope you had a stressful baby birthday, 2-year birthday party. Was that what's going to be tougher on you, the birthday party you just had or the Super Bowl? That's my question. I've been waiting to ask all week.
You know, I had a little bit more control over the party, so I will say the Super Bowl is a little more stressful because I had no control other than sitting in the exact same position that I've sat in for every. Well, no, I never did that actually, but you know what I mean, just some sort of thing.
You do have a little bit of control over that, although I've seen the way the first baby of the XFL can get down. She's rowdy, so I hope she had a pleasant second birthday.
Great birthday, running around, had a great dance party, globe party. I'll send you some pictures. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm glad you didn't post any of the pictures of me dancing with her looking like a dumb uncle.
It was not dancing. Your knees.
It wasn't really dancing.
How was you had a nephew's birthday too, didn't you?
Yeah, and I had nephew birthday too. It's been baby birthday bash, with no football going on. And this is like the first non-football game weekend. I mean, unless
this
you count
might work
the Pro
out
Bowl.
Perfectly every year, by the way. The weekend that is no football will be my child's birthday.
His birthday. You did it well. Good timing. Shot your shot and hit the target right on time, baby.
Yeah. And then 2 weeks later, boom, gone. XFL kickoff.
Yes, here we go. And we're planning 1 year out now. From now, we'll be talking about a kickoff. But today, we'll be talking about some things. And we're talking about some things, heavy things. The NFL and all that's going on there. How does that affect the XFL? We're going to get into that. The Brian Flores situation, potential, tanking purposefully of games by NFL owners. And then we have some USFL news, which Brian's most excited for today because they are closer.
69 days away.
Nice.
They are 69 days away from kickoff. That as of this live on tape recording. And that's
closer.
They're about to have their draft or player
selection meeting.
Player selection meeting. Good on them. It's happening. It's really bizarre. 69 days, and we go digging for facts on the USFL to talk about them every week. And I just feel like sometimes I don't want to bring up certain things we read on the internet for that league because none of it's official. None of it's official. True. It's all rumor, innuendo, leaked documents, which we will talk about today. It's just, because we always want to, bring up mostly facts on the show and then sift through them, not the rumor and the BS, because there could be a lot of that. But that's
kind of mostly what you get with the USFL only 69 days out from
Alan, when you
kickoff
put
at
these
this
shows
point.
together, you probably more perspective than this than pretty much anyone. Is when you're looking for news for the XFL right now, there's not a lot. It's not out there a lot, right?
No.
How much more news is there for the USFL?
Being
That there's 69 days away from kickoff.
69 days from 69 days from kickoff versus 53 weeks. And comparatively, there should be way more USFL news. And there still is more USFL news, but not by the stretch that it should be, I would say. Personally, I would expect a lot more.
All I did was ask the question. No one bashed me. I just asked the question. And Alan,
official news, I'm saying.
Alan answered it the way I expected him to answer it.
Official news from the USFL, I'm saying, and it's not there. But there is some USFL to get into today. So let's proceed. 724-565-4XFL is the XFL fan line for you to call, text, I think you could send gifts through it to us. We see them. I saw a gift this week, pictures, people Photoshop and sending us cool stuff, getting involved in the show that way. That's 724-565-4XFL or at XFL Show on Twitter or whatever social media gimmick you're on. Hit us up. DMs are open. Let's interact. Let's talk XFL each and every single week when we're not doing the show. You could bring up your phone call, your text, whatever. We interact with you. We bring you on the show every week right at this point after I read the ad, of course. And I do have to tell you about our ad sponsor. It is, of course, the people who help us put the show together. Pretty Easy Podcasts. You could go to prettyeasypodcast.com right now to get your own podcast started, whether you are a current podcaster or a budding podcaster wanting to dip your toe, get started, get some help, get a little extra assistance to sound good, and maybe just focus on the content so you don't have to learn new skills or whatever. The best part about it is you get a partner in crime with Pretty Easy Podcasts. Well, not actual crime, but podcasting crime. I don't know. Some would say we're committing crimes each week when we're working with them because they make it so damn easy. It's so simple to put a show together, especially in 2022, where you could sit on your keister at home in front of a computer or an iPad or even a phone and podcast. And Pretty Easy Podcast helps you do it however you want to do it and make you sound good doing it. It's so simple. Seriously, all you have to do is go to prettyeasypodcast.com. Get started today at an affordable rate.
Because they make podcasting pretty easy. So easy that they'll be able to edit that little blip there. And so easy that if you had 69 days to put a podcast together, they do it in less. That's how great.
Oh, man, that's like nothing.
Is.
Oh, yeah. If you had 69 hours, 69 minutes even, I'm pretty sure they can handle it.
As long as you had a microphone.
You do need, or some device that records.
They
do
records.
it. Yeah. Ideally, a good microphone or middle of the road. They're not too expensive these days. Consumer grade. You don't need these crazy microphones that they have at corporations like Spotify where they're giving you all the best equipment. Just go out there and do it. If you have an idea, damn it, do it. That's what I say. And leave that that little stutter in there from Bryant. And my stutter just now. I don't want to put too much work on him, Bryant, because there might be some editing coming up. We might get heated today and say things like, we try to keep it PG. I might say some things today because we're talking about things.
I feel like you were supposed to set me up a little differently on that. That's why I was waiting for one more setup, but maybe it's been a while.
I don't know.
Last week, Vince was here. We had a great show.
Vince threw you off.
Threw me off. I didn't have the meter in front of me.
Super Bowl on your mind. You're gonna dance and ram it on the show next week if the Rams win it all? Or I guess we'll be doing one more. We'll be doing that show before the Rams ram.
Yeah, we'll have a pre-Super Bowl show, which hopefully has a lot of news that we can't wait to actually do that show. We'll see.
Let's hope.
If there's a week for for the Rock and Company to actually announce something for the XFL, it's the week after the Rams win the Super Bowl. At least here in LA.
That would be pretty sweet. We'll make some last second predictions on that later on. Let's think and dunk real quick. At XFL Fanboy 3 hit us up and said, at XFL Show, hope you guys are staying warm because it is very cold here in Ohio. I have been staying warm. I'm in Florida, and I know Brian out in Cali's doing all right. But I'll be going to the cold soon and joining XFL Fanboy. And I know you watched the Royal Rumble episode. I don't know if they're talking about
Yeah.
This show's. Do we have a Royal Rumble episode of this show, or do you mean
we mentioned the Royal Rumble,
Brainbuster Radio, the Royal Rumble episode? That's the real,
which you
Royal
can find
Rumble
on any podcast, brainbusterradio.com.
check it out.
Brainbusters.
And then the views and thoughts expressed on that show are not affiliated with this show whatsoever. Those are all characters.
Those are all their characters. Well, they're not even us. I don't know what you're talking about.
You're right. But XFL Fanboy 3 said the USFL is a side dish, and the XFL is more like the main course. And XFL Fanboy, that's from Joe Samples Sr. I think someone said that too last week on the show, but pinpointed the actual side dish the USFL would be related to.
The USFL right now, to me, is that little like dish they bring out so you can wash your hands in before you, and then they take it away.
Oh, that's not even food.
The main course.
That's not even food.
Yeah, it's that weird dish that you're like, am I supposed to drink this? No, sir. You're supposed to wash your hands in it really quick. That's what you're supposed to do.
Oh no, come on! It's football. At least it's edible.
I mean, yeah, I guess it's edible, but maybe it's like the garnish on something. It's like edible, but you're not. I don't know if I'm supposed to eat that. It's like thinking that wasabi is avocado.
I'll give you wasabi and ginger to combined with some sushi, and then you can maybe. That's as low as I'll go. I'm thinking
guacamole
yeah, I'm thinking more like a guacamole, or it's edible. It's probably tastes good, but it's not a whole meal. I'm with you.
Is with the USF with Fox basically kind of out of the football world right now. Where's their advertising going to come from now? NBC has the Olympics going on. I've been watching a little bit of it. I haven't seen too many commercials, of it. I don't know. I feel like there's going to be a lull. We talked about how is April the right time? Well, if you're on Fox and you don't have sporting eyeballs on your channels every single day of the week, I don't know how much advertising that matters anymore. We'll see.
Yeah, the different it's funny. You see people post the promos, the different promos they're putting on Fox and some on NBC now, and they do have. I think one ran during the race at the Coliseum for NASCAR, and USFL promo ran on that. But these are again commercials. They're not even ad reads. I feel like the AAF at this point was getting more reads done by the NFL broadcasters than what we're getting onto the CBS games than what we're getting on Fox, which are really quick. Blink and you miss some spots for the USFL. And the weird thing is they own the league, and they're not really dedicating too much in terms of marketing the league yet, because there's nothing to market other than it's a retro league. How many people actually care about that? Very few. And they're in a select age group. We know there's a player pool. Who's in it? We don't know. We know the coaches, but can you really sell Jeff Fisher to come watch Jeff Fisher coach? That's not a selling point yet.
Half the time.
Yeah. And, you're right. The marketing 69 days out too, just really not leaking news, not announcing anything, really, not promoting anything too much. Very interesting how it's being rolled out. Again,
it feels like a side dish.
Gazpacho is what someone once said, right? Gazpacho? That's pretty delicious. Not filling at all, though. Not filling.
Yeah, so is that water is basically gazpacho too, but it's a cold thing they just bring to you.
You don't eat that though, and it's
you can eat it before.
Gazpacho's, that's disgusting. Roberto Garcia on the XFL fan line hit us up. Love the Photoshop Roberto sent us. Maybe we'll pull it up here in post here. Pretty easy podcast, folks. I put it up on the screen unless Brian has it. I don't know. But Roberto sent us a mock-up of what the next Washington Commanders coach will be. Now that the football team has a name, they are the Washington Commanders. And he said it should be the Cobra Commander. He put Cobra Commander as the head coach of the Washington Commanders. If you're looking at it, that's pretty badass right there. I like that. Very nice, Roberto. Oh,
is that logo you sent on Discord?
Yeah.
Oh, I was hoping that was official. I didn't know it was
Cobra Commander. I would have preferred Commandos, but it's Commanders, and we must acknowledge that they did rip off an AAF team's name. And actually, let's relive the days of the AAF real quick and show everybody what a real commander is supposed to be.
In Military City, USA, duty, honor, sacrifice. These are not just words. They are a way of life. For 300 unbroken years, men and women have defended a cause greater than themselves. From the Alamo to today, San Antonio has always been home to the Commanders.
So San Antonio is the real home of the Commanders, Bryant, but now it's Washington. No more the football team. They are the Commanders. A lot of the reaction to this was that's an XFL name. No! If you're paying attention, it's an AAF name, literally. Now it's an NFL team, and I'm okay with it, whatever. Take another team's name, doesn't bother me. Commandos would have been cooler, but I'm more upset that their font kind of is a ripoff of the Steelers, and I'm colorblind, so I don't even, are the colors the same? Did they stay the same?
Yeah, I think they stayed with that red, didn't they?
Okay. But they do have like the lines and the lettering. It just feels very Steelerish to me. Not a fan, and all kind of offended. And if I was the Roonies, I'd look into maybe suing Dan Snyder.
Okay, so first off, your offense is probably trumped by the offense of the previous name, so suck it up.
That's true. You're right. Got to respect that.
And
they just can't, just proof they can't get anything right there, though, in those offices in wherever the hell they're based, in Maryland.
Yeah, it's pretty
similar, right? Are you looking at it?
I'm looking at it now. The red's a little different. Taylor Heineke is going to look great in this, though.
Is he actually going to play? And where?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
He will look good if they let him.
By 2023, I think we have a good shot at Taylor Heineke back in the XFL, if you ask me. But we'll see.
Look, they had to pick something, I guess. Commander. I don't remember Commanders being one of those last few ones that they had nailed it down to, but here we are. Commanders.
We're going Commander. God, it's so lame. Could have been Commandos. Could have been so many other things. At least it's not Defenders.
I would have liked to have the same syllable count as before.
As the football team?
No,
or the previous name.
Yeah, previous name. I would have liked to have. It would have been like, at least it rolls off the tongue the same way.
Oh, because they can't even do the song anymore. They can't even change the song lyrics. Hail to the Commanders. Losers we be. Fight for old DC. They can't do that. The Commanders taking the AAF's San Antonio Commanders name is not a surprise, not interesting. But what is interesting is that they couldn't, maybe if they wanted to, have taken an old AAF team's name, but they couldn't because the USFL, excuse me, because the USFL's back and that IP is alive and kicking. We must acknowledge that they are kicking off in just 69 days, Bryant. And if you're ready, I'm ready to get into a whole lot of USFL, for the USFL. It's not a whole lot, but it's something to talk about in this week's cover too. Appearing on 365 Sports last week, the USFL's Executive Vice President of Football Ops, Daryl Moose Johnston, said a lot of things about the league, and not that Moose. No, he's not Mr. TNA. He's the former Dallas Cowboys fullback, former, I believe, AAF. He's been with all of them. He was involved with the XFL, too.
He was a Dallas player, personnel, something.
Yeah, and, he's now with the USFL, and he said some interesting things. But what stood out to me was the welcoming of competition with the XFL. He said, quote, "We look forward to competing with them in 2023 in regards to the XFL kicking off in just a year's time." And, you know, we'll get into more USFL inside the league stuff here in a second, but I want to look outside of it and beyond its first season. Do you think all the cost-cutting measures they are actually taking is making it likely they do compete with the XFL in 2023? Like, are you anticipating this?
I'm not anticipating. I think
more and more.
I think the USFL is going to find a nice niche in finding decent players that are not going to make the NFL. Because if you can do that, then you could probably, have them on your teams long, kind of like the way the arena football did, right? Because arena football had their players. Like, they weren't so, the CFL, same thing. They have their players. Those players don't move around to the NFL too often.
Well,
many of them.
I'll tell you, though, from what we've heard from Moose Johnston in this interview, and even in particular, and other members of the USFL, talking about they'll be gunning for younger players who are looking to get to the NFL. And Daryl Johnson in this interview did say our league is training camp friendly. From when it starts and stops, you'll still be able to make a training camp. They're selling the league to players like, play here and you have a shot at the NFL. They're going to try to give people a stepping stone to the NFL. I think they're going to at least try to do that. And
they could be doing it this season. What I'm saying is that maybe if their focus is to make money on a television program, maybe their focus is not to compete with these leagues, but to offer salaries that make sense for them and keep these players long term.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I don't know. I don't know if these are long-term salaries because we don't know how long the salaries they're offering are going to be for, if it changes into season 2. But that brings us to part 2 of our cover too, Brian, because salaries were leaked at News USFL, and other outlets are reporting these leaked documents from the USFL. I like putting leaked in quotes because if it was leaked, it was probably released to someone on purpose. I don't know. But this is the structure we've been told is reportedly the USFL structure, and it makes sense. Is it 100% accurate? I'd like to hear it straight from the league's mouth, but I don't know if we ever will. So here it is. Training camp players will make $600 a week. That's all players. And then once those are over and we're in the regular season, which is in 69 days, practice squad players in season will make $1,500 a week. Regular season active roster players will make $4,500 a week. And then you have $850 bonuses per player per win, whether you're active or on the practice squad. And then there's a $10,000 bonus for the players on the championship team. So do the math on that, Brian, because I don't want to, but that seems like a livable wage, at least for a part-time gig. And that's what this will be, because players are going to be in training camp for a few weeks and then play in a 10-week season with a couple playoff games if they get that far. So you're talking about 16 weeks of your life from the year, a little bit more, maybe 20 weeks-ish. And the USFL will be paying you to do the job on the football field. There we go.
Yeah.
Pretty nice.
If you're in the active roster and you win the championship, you're looking at like a $60,000 to $70,000 salary, which in professional sports is nothing, but as a living wage, that's pretty good, even for those, season.
You could just a chunk of your year. Yeah, that's
a competitive salary for a year that you're getting in about 3 months. So
those will be your Q2 or 3 earnings, whatever it is. Yeah, Q2.
So kudos to the USFL on paying these players something that we've talked about in the past, which is a salary that can last them an entire year rather than something for a cool gig for 10 weeks. So I'll tip my hat there. Is it sustainable? Remember, there's a lot less players, it seems like, that are going to be with the USFL per roster. So at the end of the day, I don't see a problem with the structure. I do see a problem with more so on the roster sizes, things like that maybe allow them to pay players this much money.
38 players, remember, it's trimmed down, and we don't know what players are really in this pool quite yet. They do have the player selection meeting coming up. How does the pay scale that's reported now compare to the XFL? Because just by looking at those numbers that we read down there a few minutes ago, seems a little bit higher than the average XFL player's salary, especially if even like a Taylor Heineke riding the bench behind a quarterback who was brought in to start, and backup offensive linemen and whatnot. That's a lot more, I would say.
Yeah, the winning team received almost, I think it was like $2,200. The base salary was around $1,700. So, it was definitely more of a gig amount than it was a full year's worth salary. I think you probably score around on a winning team or a 500 team. Let's just say you'd probably get somewhere around the vicinity of 27,000 for the season, 28, maybe call it 30. So it's not a lot, but
in both leagues, not we're talking XFL 2020. We do not know the pay structure of XFL 2023, but in the USFL and XFL 2020, I would say you need supplemental income if you are a player in either of those leagues. You need another source, whether it's another job, whether it's an endorsement, or you have a gig or a side hustle. You need to be doing something else and, having those backup plans, because, again, you're not in the NFL. You're not getting paid to just be a football player wholly all year long. You're getting paid to be a part of a league, contribute, and get paid a fair amount, most people would say, but compared to, of course, the NFL, it is pennies. Is it worth it? That's up to the players. If it were me and I was one of these young players that's looking to continue my career after college, and that's who they're targeting, it seems like something doable, but every situation's different. And of course, the USFL is able to pay this because they are cost cutting a whole lot. Bubble season, they aren't putting a lot of money into marketing. They're not putting a lot of money into anything except making sure that football games are going to be able to be broadcasted, and players and coaches and staffs are going to be able to be in Birmingham to put a whole season together. And we don't know the exact way everything's going to run in Birmingham for sure. Like, we don't know if these players are being compensated for, say, food the entire time they're there working, or housing. That's not for certain, I don't think. It's been rumored and sort of reported, but not 100%, and not come from the league. But we do know that players are going to be in Birmingham all in one spot. They're saving a lot of money, Fox, by putting this league together. And if these numbers are for certain the true wage of a player, then we kind of have an idea of exactly how much they're putting into the league, which is, again, probably just enough to give us season one, and let's see where they go from there. That's what it looks like to me.
Yeah, even with Moose Johnson saying that we can't wait to compete with the XFL in 2023, that's great. And I like I said, I've been quoted as saying that this season will be completed. Whether or not there's a second season, I will not put any money on that right now. I don't know if anybody would. And I think they got to make it through the first season. And as one famous person once said, "Oh, you got to insert the drop here." Charlie Ebersaw. Sometimes it's about making it past the first season. That is not a real business. We'll talk about that later. And that's what it truly is. It's about making it past the first season. Hopefully the USFL can. And, if both these, I'll say this, if both these leagues want to make this happen, then they shouldn't be afraid of each other. Competition's a good thing.
Yeah, but also there's many arguments for and against it. So the player pool getting watered down because there's two leagues is one, because you can't really play in both, most likely. But then again, there's.
Can I say something to that really quick? Sorry, Alan. If that's the case, long term, do you think a league would last with 8 teams?
No, and we had this discussion last week that we want and think there should be more than 8 teams. And the funny part about the quote from Moose Johnston, I'll get it. I'll close with, because I think it really says the whole thing here is, okay, you're right. If you are welcoming a competition with the XFL, you really are looking forward to it. Get out of Birmingham, because there ain't no way in hell you're going to compete. Really be a competitor if they are going to multiple cities and you're just playing in Alabama, and you both broadcast games on television. You're not playing at exactly the same time. I wouldn't definitely call that a competition. And the XFL, I think, is opening itself up to be a lot bigger than the USFL. Like you said, main course versus an appetizer.
I didn't say that.
Oh, well, so
I just agreed with it.
You agreed with the XFL Fanboy 3, although you said off air similar things. But
I said on air that it wasn't even a side dish.
You did say it was a dirty rag that you wash your hands with or something. I don't know. But the fact
little
is,
thing they give you at the very end of watching
the USFL is going to be a competitor. It doesn't even really need to play at the same time as the XFL to me, but it does need to be in more than just Alabama. And we'll see in 2023 if that is actually the case. But I like where they're going. I like how they're doing it, at least from a paying the players properly way and from a mentality in the front office that's saying the right things, that they're doing that. But they're not doing much in terms of saying anything officially. Give us some news. Tell us about the rules. It's the damn Super Bowl. There's 69 days away
ideas
from
about
kickoff,
the rules.
And we're not really being involved as fans in the USFL. It's, again, a TV show. And, we didn't hear, I don't know about you, but I didn't remember ever hearing too much about Frasier before they had their season premieres back when I was watching that show.
Oh yeah, except the fact that he was on Cheers.
He was on Cheers. That's true. Again, but he's actually Frasier's a lot like the USFL. Someone you recognize from an old show, and they're bringing him on for a new show. Watch it this spring.
Yeah, but how many years between Cheers and Frasier versus how many years between 1984 and now?
I mean, they were probably like 5, 6, 7 years, maybe, I want to say. And this is, like 40. Almost.
This is not the same life cycle.
Oh, man. But there you go, the USFL with some news. But, of course, those are the pay structure, leaked documents, not officially announced by the league.
Do you use this as a standard for you if you're the XFL? Do you see this and be like, this is what we need to at least do to be competitive? Is that the only thing that's going to matter is the money to the players?
From the players' side, it's the money, it's the ability and to be flexible with, okay, I'm getting a call from an NFL team. I want to go there. Can I go? Can I leave? Do I like the contract? How tied in are they into the league? That's going to be a factor. The USFL seems pretty open to allowing players to go freely after the season. It's a kind of a stint, a tour they'll be doing of service in Birmingham, and then they get out of there and then could try to go make an NFL training camp. The XFL needs to do things like that in terms of the dollar amounts. We'll see what they do. If they scale it, even it all out like the USFL does, I think paying a few extra standouts, if it's in the budget at Redbird, wouldn't hurt, at least for quarterbacks.
And based on when these two leagues are going to kick off, you might say that the XFL's target player are training camp cuts, whereas the USFL's target player are undrafted free agents.
But we're hearing that the XFL will go for some young guns too, but maybe a mixture. This is a flat rate, so I think we'll see across the board in the USFL those undrafted players and not too many also rans, where in the XFL maybe we'll see some forgotten names, a lot of really, really young players, and maybe some guys that were brought in specifically paid a good amount or a decent amount to be a part of the league and be the faces of the league.
Quarterbacks were paid six figures.
For that again. I'm for that again for sure. If it's in the budget, of course, but we don't know that for the XFL either. We were told,
but we
this
are
kind
not.
of stuff.
But the XFL is not 69 days away from kickoff.
That's true. We were told a lot more leading up to the XFL in 2020 than we are even into the XFL 2023. But compared to the USFL, my goodness, not even. It's apples and oranges, ladies and gentlemen. It's not even a comparison. But we do know the USFL will kick it off in 69 days, which is, by God, closer than freaking ever. We're covering every step of the way. Maybe they'll announce something big on NBC during the Super Bowl, maybe. Who knows? Maybe Collinsworth, middle of the game. says
I'm
something
coming back
about the USFL. I'm playing in the USFL. No, I don't think he'll be saying that.
No.
I think maybe we'll be hearing all week, besides Super Bowl hype, most people, at least on Sports Talk and on TV, it's all going to be about the craziness in the NFL going on, Bryant. And that's.
Did you hear what's his name just got arrested from the Saints?
Who?
Kamara just got arrested like an hour
Alvin
ago.
Kamara did.
At least I saw that. That's what I saw.
Really? Oh, I didn't even see that. For what? Something bad?
Oh yeah, he's in Vegas. What?
Oh, something in Vegas?
Alvin Kamara is arrested in Las Vegas for battery resulting in substantial bodily harm.
Oh man. The NFL it's got some stuff to clean up this week before their big Super Bowl, or excuse me, the big game. We're on a podcast. We could say it. I don't think they're going to come after us. But in the grand scheme of it all, with the conversations they're having about that league, how does the XFL capitalize on it? Or how does it affect the XFL even? Let's discuss it in this week's Hot Read. Did you see this? Did you hear about this? The Dolphins apparently offered their former head coach, Brian Flores, $100,000 per loss was the number, I believe. Tons of money to tank back when they were stinking it up for Tua, tanking for Tua. And now he's fired and he's bringing this up. And it's just a crazy, crazy time in the NFL. Owners allegedly asking coaches to tank. It apparently happened in Cleveland too in 2016 and 17. Hugh Jackson claiming the Browns had a 4-year plan that incentivized losing. And the NFL's doing a lot of damage control right now. Meanwhile, the XFL is prepping and planning. And actually, Doug Whaley was on TMZ this week, Bryant, the Senior Vice President of Player Personnel for the XFL, and was asked about Brian Flores. He said he's talented, and they'd consider, of course, a guy like him, because the only requirement in the XFL is that you're talented, and there will be no tanking in the XFL or asking to do that. But the NFL is being accused of that, at least, and this is all going to probably go to courts, or at least it'll be settled. We don't know. We don't know where it goes. That's what we're going to discuss now. Where does it go? Can you actually fathom this going somewhere to make major changes to the NFL, Bryant? First off, I'm thinking, do they actually ever hire black coaches in this league? Because more getting filled, and they're by white men. And in the meantime, they're still, like, I can't believe it, the team still, knowing the league is really being destroyed publicly for that, and everything else that came out this weekend. We get another coach, I believe, hired in Miami. Mike McDaniel hired. So Mike Tomlin's still the only black coach. I think there's still some coaching positions remaining. We'll see who gets them. Does that change? What about the owners, though? Do they... Okay, maybe they don't hire black coaches, but do they pay at all for telling their coaches to tank? That's the most egregious thing I've heard since the Patriots got caught cheating in the NFL, Bryant. Will the owners actually get kicked out? Like Stephen Ross, do you think he could actually be kicked out of the NFL for asking Brian Flores to tank? Because I think he should if it happened, right?
Yeah, I mean, unless the NFL wants that to happen in some way, shape, or form, who knows? That's when Tom Brady was on the Patriots. So, hey, I think that's a shout out for you, Vince and Jake, right there. Is, hey, yeah, because Tom Brady was on the Patriots. Who cares if the Dolphins tank and lose those 2 games every year? Is it a bad thing for the NFL? Yes, obviously. There's a lot of bad things happen with the NFL in that sense. They seem to have good damage control, which unfortunately doesn't bring light to a lot of these subjects that happen. So you look at it and you're like, what can the NFL change, and how does that affect coaching, not just in the NFL but everywhere, right? Because now coaches will hopefully get opportunities. The XFL had 3 black coaches. Winston Moss, Jonathan Hayes, and Pep Hamilton, and all 3 were in playoff contention. One of them was leading the East, and Pep Hamilton. So I'm fully supportive of figuring out ways to get owners to agree to make this Rooney Rule not seem like a farce, because it does seem like a farce at times, and that's unfortunate. It shouldn't be that way. The XFL seems to have a home for a lot of these coaches as well. If they don't, I think Brian Flores, does he ever coach again? That's
in the NFL.
That's the question.
Man, I think it'd be badass if the Steelers hired him as their defensive coordinator, but I don't think he'll have a job in the NFL at all.
I don't see why not. He's a good coach, and if he's bringing it out, it's thing against the Dolphins. And if you're bringing him in for a BS interview, then so be it. Like that's not okay. If you did that, then you deserve to be called out on it. Maybe he won't, coach for the Broncos or the Giants.
But these owners they work together. Like they don't. If the Giants are being sued by a coach, then another owner isn't going to hire that coach because he's going just because they're competing on the field.
You get yourself in so much more trouble doing that.
They're working together to make money together as a league collectively. So that's where the interest is. That's why I don't see it. I think the only way for this to really change is Brian Flores, if he has hard evidence, Hugh Jackson, if they have hard evidence, they bring it, and this actually goes to, somewhere beyond a settlement. And, that's going to be so fascinating to watch how the NFL's actually stepped up to by a head coach who's just pissed off. I love how pissed off Brian Flores seems to be, and he's fearless, and I love it. And I'm rooting for him.
Maybe it's something that he was willing to sweep under the rug because things seemed like they were going his way and being fair. When things don't go fair, all of a sudden the things that, it's a reality of life, right? People look the other way until you kind of, stab them in the back for looking the other way. And then as soon as you do that, it's like, well, why did I look the other way? Just so you could stab me in the back? That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So
this guy was probably fine with, you asked and offered me to tank, and I'll accept that as long as, I'm still the coach and we're turning things around a little bit. Lost 7, 8 in a row, then 1 8 in a row or whatever. But I have a good feeling about it. Wait, I'm fired?
That's the other thing. I got a huge question mark behind his firing, right? Yeah.
What the hell? Like, it's just a really bizarre. And then there's, of course, conspiracies. Well, they were doing it because they were just hoping to get Harbaugh, blah, blah, blah. That whole situation with that team is just crazy, but beyond the Dolphins, it's the whole the league as a whole. So if the Dolphins owner actually offered money to tank, the NFL, the Dolphins, all these teams are now, with the legalization of gambling, involved in literally the rigging of games, because that is rigging. If you are tanking, you are rigging a game. There's like crazy repercussions for that.
If you're losing the game on purpose, that's pretty bad. Yeah.
Yes.
If you're a general manager, you don't put a great team on the field. Is that rigging?
As
long as the players are trying their hardest, right? I guess is what matters.
It's just so. It's so.
Has a team in sports history ever, and they never won a championship, but has a team in sports history ever come undone like the Miami Dolphins did when Dan Marino retired?
Just become
just this farce of the league that can't even get a quarterback, and then they just not even mediocrity, just this shambles, and just no one cares. I forget the Miami Dolphins even play half the time. I mean, it's just
oh man. I'd like to introduce you to a team called the Detroit Lions because they've never even been.
Never. But that's what I'm saying. Never. But what I'm saying is that no team has fallen apart this much when one player, one star player like that left. The Lions is the Lions. Okay.
Yeah, you're right. I'll say this: hail to Pitt. That's for sure. But the NFL might. Would they before stripping an owner of ownership from a team, because they apparently do have bylaws that are supposed to prevent this.
I'm sure there's clauses.
You can't do this. Yeah, but I still can't imagine that happening. But I could see them maybe changing rules that make it at least seem like teams don't have incentive to tank. Teams tank in the NBA all the time, but at least there's a lottery in the draft.
Yeah, but the players aren't tanking. The coaches aren't tanking.
The coaches are, yeah.
Right?
But the NBA is also, from a front office perspective, a lot easier to control losing. There's only so many guys on the court if you want to lose, you can lose in the NBA a lot easier than the Dolphins, which is funny because the Dolphins still are like always 8-8, it seems, or around there. And they probably, in many years,
They're
were
probably
trying
really
to be
mad Jeff Fisher got
0-16.
hired by the USFL.
No, but it's so. Do actual changes happen in the NFL, or does it just continue? They do the damage control and they just move on, most likely. But then there's our perspective here now on the XFL. How do you take advantage of that? Because every little thing you can differentiate yourself from the NFL, and every little way you can do that is a good thing for the XFL. I think they even did it in 2020 with some things. Some people wanted to call it the MAGA League because there was, of course, they set themselves apart where, they weren't going to allow protests and politicizing of games. That's at least one thing to set yourself apart to some fans. But then to the players also at the same time, they were saying, a league of you're allowed to be yourself. So I don't know how they pulled that off. But this time the XFL is saying it's a league of culture, and it's kind of seems like they're siding on more of players just speaking their minds and doing whatever. But then, of course, you could set yourself apart as a league where there's no tanking, a league where maybe you have a different draft setup, a league where you are going to actually hire minority coaches in a league that's predominantly full of black players, and minority players. It's just there's different ways to take the issues the NFL's having at any point in time, 2020, 2023, and capitalize off on it. How does the XFL utilize that and turn it to their advantage? You already saw Doug Whaley already saying, hey, Brian Flores, a guy like him, is welcome in the XFL.
Well, he's a great coach. That's why he's welcome. It has nothing to do with the color of his skin or what he's done or anything like that. It's other than the fact that he's a great coach. He's a decent coach that took the Miami freaking Dolphins to the brink of playoff contention the last 2 years. Like, what more do you need? Like, I'm not a fan of saying we're going to hire X amount of minority coaches and or we're going to be a league where we hire at least half. Like, that's not how it works to me. But to me, you got to make it fair. You got to make it right. You got to make it seem like you're doing the right thing. Not seem like it. You got to be doing the right thing and make that prevalent. Because if not, then you're just going to be what the NFL is, and you don't want to do that in that sense. Because things like this always seems to come out. Look at John Gruden. 10 years later, here we are.
Maybe it's just a symptom of the NFL has 32 owners, and the ownership groups they're all 30. They're 32 corporations, a part of a bigger corporate entity, and they don't know. I don't know why they don't make these hires, the ones we're expecting them to make, for whatever reason. Is it because they're owned by old white men? Is it because they aren't comfortable with certain aspects of hiring a black coach? I don't know. I don't know why, but I have a feeling that the reason is systematic. It's a part of. It's because of the way the NFL is propped up and set up to run as a business. That is why it's the way it is right now. The XFL now, on the other hand, is a league that's top down, owned by one group of people, not a bunch of different owners yet. But maybe here's my big grand idea for this hot read that I wanted to bring up, and we can say goodbye, Bryant. Maybe the big way to really take advantage of this is you bring in owners of every team and you make some of them minorities, like the majority of them. Could they do that? That would be novel.
To me, again, you lay out what you have in front of you and you pick the 8, 10, 12 best owners that you have available to you that are willing to purchase a franchise. But make the process right. No bias, no anything. Just, make it a process. And whether they're minority or not, it is how it plays out. But you got to make this. The problem with what's going on with Flores is the fact that he doesn't feel like he's getting. These are sham interviews. These are sham opportunities. The Dolphins fired him. That is the problem. Not so much what the end result is, but the process to where you get to that end result.
It's a sticky situation. The XFL could clean it up by simply making the process fair. I agree with you. Just make it straight up, whether there's ownership bids given on franchises or not, or just the hiring of coaches. Just make it a fair process.
You're talking about the two faces of this league. Danny Garcia and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson are minorities in themselves. So, and you're starting there.
Yeah.
Can you build on that? Who knows? But the XFL has an opportunity to do this the way they feel will be the right way.
Yeah.
The NFL doesn't have that chance right now.
They don't, because that's the NFL. It's been around for a long time, and that's the system that's in place. So they can't really make those sweeping changes. But when presented with an opportunity, NFL, will you have the balls to kick a owner out of the league for paying a coach to tank? Jeez, oh man, I can't believe I have to say that. That just seems so horrible, and especially in a world where, damn it, Pete Rose got kicked out of baseball for just betting on himself to win. At least he bet on himself to win. And these,
I mean, as far as we know,
trying to lose. Oh, I trust Pete. He's a Hall
so
of
is this
Famer.
like the opposite of what happened in New Orleans? The with the money, what was it? Where the defensive coordinator was asking people, was paying people off.
Oh yeah, Bounty Gate.
Bounty Gate. Yeah. This is like a little bounty, but the opposite.
Yeah. It's in the other direction, and like you could compare it to that too. At least, well, that was kind of dirty. They were paying for dirty plays, paying extra for which 100% happened in the NFL forever until this day and age. I mean, come on, you don't think like? At least I have to believe like 70s players, like guys in the 70s playing on the teams like the Raiders and the Steelers were like, all right, if you hurt this bastard today, I'll give you $50.
What's his name? It was Greg. What was the defensive coordinator's name? He even was the defensive coordinator of the Rams.
Yeah. Greg Williams.
The Greg Williams? I want to say it was.
So.
Either way. Do you think he just forgot that cameras existed on phones at that time, and that's why he was still doing it?
Yeah, I mean, he coming from the old school, they say, but also really dirty, and that's from us, from a coach. It's one thing. Players amongst themselves have definitely been happening, I'm sure, forever. But that even is not as close to as egregious for the NFL as this, because especially as someone who's just rooting for legalization of gambling across the board, this taints it a little, and it gives people ammo who are trying to block it or stop this from happening, across the entire country. It gives them ammo, and it just upsets me too, because I can only imagine what people at like DraftKings are thinking when like, damn, it's my God, owners are paying coaches to tank, and we're trying to make this betting thing a normalized thing for everybody. You can't do that.
Is this similar to the Bounty Gate, where this is happening by all owners now, and it's just all of a sudden one of them decided to speak up?
Yeah. I mean, that's what you fear. That's why there's ammo, because you say, oh, if one's doing it, Hugh Jackson says another's doing it. How many of the owners are doing it? How much of this league's on the up and up at all? And then you just go into conspiracy land.
Someone's got to be paying the Lions to do it, right? At this point, like, it's just
to tank.
It's just, look. I want you guys to not win a championship. It's a great story. It'll be just the thing that we live off of the rest of our lives. Don't even make it to the playoffs. And if you make it to the playoffs, just lose. Make sure we don't have a home playoff game ever.
Ever? Have they ever had one in our lifetime?
I don't know if it's ever, but it's not in my lifetime.
Really?
Not since I've been really watching football, and that's been 22 years now. So
I definitely have seen the Lions in the playoffs, I feel.
Yeah,
but I don't know if they were home.
Stafford was 0-3.
Yeah. They were on the road.
They had a home game week 17 against the Packers to win the division and have their first home playoff game in I don't know how many years. And they lost, and then they lost on the road the next week as well.
And now, is Stafford like the first player to ever sniff a Lions uniform forced to wear one that actually got to a Super Bowl?
He's probably the first player. He's the first great Lions player to not retire instead of and actually just find another team to play for.
He's the first great Lions player who found a way out of Detroit.
Yes,
that
didn't involve retirement. Exactly. Yeah.
Well, I'm rooting for him to ram it down the Bungles'
I might.
throats.
We'll see.
The NFL has some business to take care of in the Super Bowl, but more importantly, with all these issues they're facing, the XFL can only just look at them and assess how they put their league together. And I, for one, can't wait to see how they do it and what aspects of these modern issues they make sure are cleaned up in their league. First and foremost, Redbird Capital, don't be paying any of the coaches to tank.
Yeah, I mean, tanking in the XFL is going to be very. I mean, we don't even know what. Remember, we did our season predictions, and you predicted every team would be around that 4-6 to 6-4 mark. You weren't far off. I mean, you had the Roughnecks and the Vipers, kind of the bookends, but
yeah, it's hard. It's hard to tank in a league like this too. And
we also don't know what tanking is going to get you in the off season after your first season.
Exactly.
We were so excited to see what was going to happen in 2021. That was another thing. We're like,
unless it's a straight up, a big check from the owner, that's what tanking will get you.
Yeah, that's true.
I had to do. You never bothered to do it, but I had to. I brought this up on the show before, right? When we were hired by the league, go through like a corporate video thing where you click on answers.
Oh yeah, I didn't do that.
Yeah, and it said, like, if you ask a player to lose a game on purpose, you are violating this rule or that. Like, that was in the hiring process.
I think I did do that.
Yeah, it's like very illegal and wrong. Please,
but it makes a lot of money.
It does. But the
hashtag we want our jobs back.
Yes, and also, more importantly, if it screws gambling over, I swear to, because the XFL without gambling is not as strong. I will say that too. No league.
Gambling's not going anywhere in football. Not especially if gambling was prevalent enough with just Vegas. We're fine.
I hope you're right. Although Vegas is becoming like Disneyland, man. It's who knows what that place is going to be like in 20 years. It's like
the NFL doesn't think that's the happiest place on the earth. I'll tell you that much.
Man, when players are there. Yeah, you're right. Only a couple of years with players going there. It's no good so far.
Really one because the other one was a pandemic.
Yeah, you're right.
So here we are. But either way, whatever happens, whatever doesn't happen, whatever tanking or non-tanking or paying off or not paying off, whatever happens, we are going to be here for you every single Sunday right here on your favorite podcast app. That's Apple, TuneIn, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Make sure you give us that 5-star review and tell your friends about us. If you got a question, comment, or topic you want us to cover, well, then call or text the XFL Fan Line, 724-565-4XFL. Remember, standard text messaging rates do apply 24/7, by the way, anytime you want. Also, follow us on all social media platforms at XFL Show. That's Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. I think YouTube's even at XFL Show. I don't know. But either way, catch us there. Or if you want to come and say hi, say hello to us on YouTube at www.xfl.show, the official website of This Is the XFL Show. And don't forget to check out our sponsors, Pretty Easy Podcast. Go to prettyeasypodcast.com and get started today because they make podcasting pretty easy. I did that without my read. So,
well, I have a confession for everybody. Before Brian started his spiel there, his end of the show spiel, I paid him to mess up XFL.show.
Yes. So did you have the over-under?
Yeah, I paid him to screw that up. I made some money on it. He made a little money on it. You're not any of the wiser, and the show goes on.
So for like next week's, can we do the over-under on how long it'll take me to go through that reader? And whether I hit it or not. 1 minute, 26 seconds, over or under.
We're going to start doing props on the show, and hopefully we'll be able to be wagered on FanDuel or something someday. Or at least on the Carlos app. That'll be nice.
That'd be great. Carlos, I might hit you up this weekend. We'll see.
Gambling's going nowhere, especially Super Bowl week, baby. Get your squares or whatever you do.
I got my
Enjoy
squares.
The big game. Ram it. I know the Bungles are everybody's favorite. They're nice. but I'm a Steeler fan, so I just cannot stand them, and I'm rooting hard against them. So I'm rooting for you, buddy. Go get them.
Thank you. I will hopefully, I come when we whenever that game is after this show or before it. I'm in an elated state of mind. I've never won a Super Bowl with a team, following
in
them
the
out
city,
throughout the entire season.
And the city you're in, I know this.
I was rooting for the
exciting.
Rams hard in '99, but I didn't start that season as a Rams fan. I kind of started liking them as the season progressed.
Yeah, you bandwagoned them, and then you plotted with Kroenke to steal them from St. Louis, and now you got them, and look at you.
Look at me.
And again, for everyone in St. Louis who's really upset.
This could have been you.
By Bryant and the Rams right now, my heart's with you two. Kakaw's the law, but I can't be watching the Bengals win the Super Bowl. I'm sorry. So there. I just wanted to shout them out.
There's still got to be some diehard Rams fans in St. Louis.
Are there?
Yeah, that has to be. Some people were just in.
It's tough. I don't know. I can't speak from experience, so I don't know how I would deal with that scenario at all.
The Steelers aren't going anywhere. They have a nice stadium.
Yeah,
and they're not in St. Louis.
Well, what does that mean?
I don't know.
The bridges are falling in Pittsburgh. Come on.
That's very true, yes.
Plenty of things to be
Did Jeff Bezos' yacht need to get through or something? What happened there?
No, I don't know. There's infrastructure issues. We've got to clean them up. First and foremost, everybody needs to get their moral act together. Stop paying people to tank, and let's just everybody love everybody, please.
Everybody love everybody. Everybody love football because this is fourth of a football. Alan, we are 2 days away from the 2-year anniversary of kickoff. What are you doing?
I will be commemorating by calling my good, close, personal, longtime, dear, good friend, the best in the world, Shane McMahon, and just reminiscing a little bit and saying hi. And then I'll probably go in the corner and cry. Until next year.
I might watch the game. We'll see. Let us know what you're doing at XFL Show for the 2-year anniversary. I'm sure the game's available on ESPN, YouTube, somewhere. You can check it out. I have the original copy, but that's just...
Oh, you taped it. Dragons and Defenders.
Sure. We'll just leave it at that. Maybe I shouldn't even say what I actually have.
All right, everybody. That's it for this week's show. Next week's show, Super Bowl week. Hopefully we have that XFL announcement. If not, we'll just be chugging along down the road to 2023. For Bryant, I'm Alan. Thanks for listening. Remember, they're watching.